Hi there, this is Saulcher Ronan from Saulcher Ronan Films, and welcome to another video. Over the past couple of days, we have lost a couple of directors, Bernardo Bertolucci and Nicolas Roeg. They weren't amongst my favourite directors in the world, but I certainly did have a lot of respect for them, and I certainly have a few of their films. I'll let other people kind of talk about them, because I'm going to talk about somebody that probably not many people are talking about, and it's the death of Ricky Jay. Now, this video was suggested by Ben Vanassi. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, one of my subscribers. And he always has interesting comments and has a lot of film knowledge, and I just want to thank him for his support, and thank you very much for the prompt. So Ricky Jay was one of those character actors that you might not know his name. He is technically a magician by trade, but very much like Dennis Farina, who was a cop in Chicago before Michael Mann sort of took him down the road of acting. Ricky Jay was a magician before David Mamet kind of took him down the road of acting himself. His first film was Mamet's fantastic con within a con within a con within a con film, House of Games. This is the Criterion edition, which I would recommend. Unfortunately, it's just on DVD. Hopefully one day Criterion will fix that. And one of the reasons I would recommend getting the Criterion version, because there's a fascinating commentary with David Mamet and Ricky Jay on the release. It's a wonderful commentary, because Ricky Jay is officially a consultant and actor on the film. He plays one of Joe Mantegna's crew of con artists. But he taught David Mamet a lot about magic and the con game, short cons, long cons, and the commentary's fantastic, basically. I know some people don't bother with commentaries, but I think commentaries can be fascinating and really interesting to those of us that are interested in more than just the film. We're kind of interested in the history of the film and, some decisions that were made. Commentaries can be really helpful in that regard. So I would highly recommend this commentary, along with pretty much any commentary you can get with Cronenberg or Michael Mann or John Sayles, because their commentaries are really good. And also John McTiernan, his commentary on Die Hard and Predator are really interesting as far as what decisions he was and wasn't allowed to make, even just with camera movements on like Predator and Die Hard. The studio was confused about. But getting back to Ricky Jay, we're first introduced to him in House of Games in the initial card game, and he's the aggressive Texan who wants his money. And Ricky Jay was really good at being menacing, but he also had a lighter side. The majority of his work is with David Mamet, and obviously House of Games and Homicide and Heist and Spanish Prisoner. He appears in Red Belt, State and Main. So it's most of Mamet's output. But he also worked with Christopher Nolan on The Prestige, which strangely enough was about magic. And he appeared in television and several other films. But again, he's one of those guys that people recognise his face, but don't kind of know his name. There's actual videos of his magic on YouTube, which I would recommend because they're highly entertaining. But certainly as this video was suggested by Ben, and I was sad to see him dying at the age of 72. It does kind of remind me about, again, those actors that we recognise their face but we don't necessarily know their name. And when you think about it, they really do form the backbone of cinema. Because without character actors, films just wouldn't be the same. You can't have a film just full of stars. For one thing, the reason that character actors are called character actors is because they have character, whereas so many stars are stars because of their looks, and just because of their blandness. They're essentially always the same kind of person. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about the studio system of the 30s and 40s, because even though they had stars, they still had some character to them. You know, people like Henry Fonda, even though it's Henry Fonda, you still believe in his characters, whereas I think today stars just are fairly bland people who, regardless of what situation they're in, they're still stars. I mean, I know, you know, Brad Pitt and George Clooney have uglified themselves for roles, and that's when they become more interesting to me. But again, without character actors, there wouldn't be cinema. I mean, if you think of your favourite films, I could pretty much guarantee that most of the time it's not about the star, it's about those faces and characters around them, like Ricky Jay and like M. Emmett Walsh. I mean, when you think of M. Emmett Walsh, you know, you don't think there's a star, you think there's a character. And I think, just like in life, you know, we're not stars in life, we're character actors essentially. You know, we're not all beautiful and perfect. You know, we're all Ricky Jay and we're all M. Emmett Walsh. You know, we're character actors. And I just think, while obviously it's sad that Bertolucci and Nicholas Roeg died, and obviously many other directors and actors have died before their time, I think it is worth remembering people like Ricky Jay, who, without them, for example, David Mamet films wouldn't be David Mamet films without Ricky Jay and other, Mike Nussbaum, you know, people like that. So it's just, when you're watching films, I know most of you do, but it's always worth thinking about those character actors, because like I said, they're probably amongst your favourite actors, even if you don't know their names. So thank you very much for watching, and thanks for Ben for suggesting this video, because it certainly was a worthwhile topic. And again, check out Ricky Jay's Magic on YouTube, and check out his work with Mamet, because I feel that's his best, even though he did work with Christopher Nolan on The Prestige and Paul Thomas Anderson in Boogie Nights and loads of TV and stuff. Again, it's just worthwhile to remember the character in the corner. So thanks very much for watching. This is Solitaire saying farewell.